Hey everyone, I'm Ed Gutowski. I'm going to be your English 302 instructor. And what I wanted to do was just create a welcome video that kind of basically talks about the class, expectations for the coursework, and really just kind of talks about the textbooks as well. I'm super excited about English 302. English 302 is such a fun class. I've taught it both online and on ground as well. And we're basically going to spend the next few weeks talking about rhetoric and argument. And rhetoric and argument is always great. So what I wanted to do was first kind of just talk about some of the textbooks for class. So the first textbook we're going to use is a book called Into the Wild. And Into the Wild I've used before, both on ground and online, with really positive success. Students really seem to like this book. Some students said they've read it in high school before, but they like the approach that I bring in, because I think I bring in a really unique perspective from Into the Wild. And I think one of the reasons why Into the Wild is so successful is because the main character is in a position I find that many of my students are in. So the main character is going to Emory University, which is a really prestigious university in the South. And as he's finishing up his degree, he really has these three big questions. Why am I going to college? What do I want out of my education? What do I want out of my life? And I think these three questions, we all come across at some point in our life. And what this kid does is he does something really foolish. He basically sells all of his possessions. As he's graduating, he sells all his possessions, gets rid of all of his money, and disappears into the wild, and no one knows what happens to him. 6 months later, he walks into Alaska with 10 pounds of rice, a pistol, and tries to live off the land. And the author, John Krakauer, wanted to kind of know what would motivate a kid who had everything going for him, from a well-to-do family, who had some pretty significant amount of money, and was really well-educated. Why would he go off and do something that's kind of so foolish and bizarre? And it really kind of, the mystery and the answer to that question is really what makes the book so much fun to teach. So that's the first book we're going to get into. We're also going to use the textbook. This is called Everything's an Argument. I've been using this textbook for the last several years in my English 302 class. I think it really helps students understand some of the key concepts for rhetoric and argument. It's accessible, it's interesting, there's some great articles in there. So we'll start using that. We are also going to read Shakespeare. We're going to look at Henry V. And Henry V is just epic, right? Henry V is a play that deals with rhetoric, it deals with war, and it deals with politics. And I know that, even on a ground class, that Shakespeare can be somewhat intimidating for students, but really I've sort of set up the lesson plans and the assignments so they're really accessible for an online class. Then we're going to end with Colston Whitehead's The Nickel Boys. And this is a book that I'm particularly excited about because Colston Whitehead really sort of examines issues of race and racism in America. And this book came highly recommended. So I think it'll be really great when we sort of end class that way. And then the last book we're going to look at is called The Siegel Reader Essays. The Siegel Reader Essays has generally been voted the best book that I've used in my English 302 class. There's a variety of just kind of short essays that we'll read. Students really like the essays. They're engaging. And like I said, I think students have voted the best book that I use in my class, and if I get one complaint, it's that we didn't read enough articles from the Siegel Reader essay. So these are the books that we're going to use for class. I think our class is going to be a lot of fun. The only other thing I would suggest is I'm teaching 3 summer school classes this term, and my first 2 summer classes have already been a go, and that there's been some issues with plagiarism. So I just have to let you know at the beginning in the welcome video just that you want to make sure that you avoid any instances of plagiarism. If you copy and paste something from the internet without citing it, that's a problem. I'll be using Turnitin.com, and that's how I caught a couple of students plagiarizing. So it's just really important that I probably emphasize that, because I was rather disappointed that so early on students were just copying and pasting things from the internet. But other than that, I think our class is going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what your ideas are about rhetoric and argument.